and we are conducting our November Caregiver Support Community webinar. I'll quick share my screen so that those who haven't viewed the agenda just have a quick idea of what we're going to be doing today. We will have advocacy updates, as always, from Janet. Those two are archived along with the webinar recordings. And today she's going to be talking about the issue brief that was crafted and supported by WAN, Wisconsin Aging Advocacy Network. We'll also have updates from Lynn, and then I have one quick update myself. We'll hear a bit new information about Trualta from Kunal and Laura Jane. They've been a part of our meetings every other month regularly to help us just stay on top of all the new content and new information. And we also have Lisa Schneider, Executive Director from the Respite Care Association of Wisconsin, joining us. It's my hope that if you haven't heard of RCAW, that you will today and learn a great deal more about what they can offer, not just family caregivers, but maybe your community as well, who may not have a robust network of respite care and home supports. There might be some opportunities to collaborate and hopefully meet some needs that aren't being met currently. I will stop presenting at the moment, and I will turn it over right now to Janet to get started. And you do have sharing capabilities, so if you'd like, you're certainly welcome to do that.
Oh, I didn't plan for that, Bryn, but if you want to bring up the issue brief, that would be fine. I wasn't sure if people got it hard copy or.
I will share it on my screen.
That would be great. So as Bryn said, I'm going to focus today on an issue brief that was put together on how we can better support Wisconsin family caregivers. The Wisconsin Aging Advocacy Network, of which our agency is a member, as our senior centers and dining, nutrition directors and benefits counselors and many more, which you will see down the left-hand side of the issue brief, all of the core members of the network, including especially older adults. So each biennial budget, we put together issue briefs that have a budgetary impact, as well as include policy priorities that we'd like to see happen in the next legislative session. So the 2023-2024 legislative session. This particular issue brief is completely directed at supporting family caregivers and contains 3 budget requests as well as 3 legislative requests. And I just want to go through them quickly. The first is one that many of you are familiar with, and that's to create a state tax credit for caregivers who are spending money out of pocket. These expenses then would be.
State call, it's on Teams.
Can we mute? And I will unmute. All right. So these caregivers would be eligible for reimbursement for up to $500 of expenses that they paid out of pocket. This is a bill that has been introduced 2 sessions ago, was introduced in the governor's budget the last go around, and we are not giving up. We want to continue to honor and recognize the financial impacts of caregiving on our family caregivers. The second ask is related to family and medical leave policies. And the difference here is an expansion of Wisconsin's current law by including additional people who would be eligible to be caregivers. So grandparents, grandchildren, some other family relatives our state law would be expanded to include those folks. It also would be expanded by creating a paid leave program. I'm not dismissing the important Family and Caregiver Support Alliance survey that told us many people, even if they had family and medical leave available, didn't use it. For a lot of those folks, I'm guessing it's related to the fact that it was unpaid. And for a lot of our workers, they simply can't take off to provide caregiving if it's unpaid. And so we're looking at creation of a paid family and medical leave program, and we're exploring that both at the state and federal level. Our third ask specifically is related to funding for respite service grants. So I'm delighted that this works together with Lisa Schneider being here today from the Respite Care Association of Wisconsin. We know that respite care is critically important to the health and well-being of older adults and their family caregivers, and having find funds to make this possible, despite all the workforce challenges, funding for respite is also a significant challenge. So looking for some additional respite funds. And then as we move outside of the budget process, things that don't necessarily have a financial impact, but really impact how people, how caregivers are able to benefit from any of the supports and services we have to provide. We heard loud and strong from this network that the waivers that you currently have available to you in the Alzheimer's Family and Caregiver Support Program, which allow you to use family members to provide respite care and allow you to lift the 112-hour cap on respite care, would be really important things going forward, especially in light of the challenge to find paid workers and the challenge to find outside respite care. So lifting those caps would make it much easier to continue to provide these practices in the environment that we're currently operating in, which has not really changed much since when those waivers were put into place. So we're asking the state to extend those waivers. The second one would be to update the Alzheimer's Family and Caregiver Support Program from a cap that was set back in 1985 at $4,000 per person or family for goods and services. We know that if that cap were raised to today's prices, it would be an $11,000 cap. So imagine how much less services and supports our caregivers are able to receive because of inflationary increases since 1985. That $4,000 buys a whole lot less. And so we're asking that to be increased and then annually adjusted for inflation so we don't end up in this situation again. And the third and final legislative ask is related to the CARE Act, the Care Advisory Record and Enable Act, and this is specific to caregivers who are helping a loved one transition from a hospital setting, who find themselves needing to be well informed of the discharge plan, instructed on how to provide the care when they get home, and considered a part of the healthcare team. Without caregivers, these folks often end up rehospitalized if our caregivers aren't properly trained. And so right now, we are collecting some stories about people's hospital discharge experiences and how much notice did they receive, how involved were they in that planning, and did they feel adequately trained when they got home with their loved one to provide the care that they were going to be expected to provide. We have not been successful in getting the CARE Act passed in the last couple of legislative sessions, and we think the missing piece here is really those caregiver stories, so that as we're told that this happens everywhere, we have some clear examples of for people for whom this did not happen and the consequences of that, so that we can, again, better support our family caregivers. My hope is that you'll take a look at this issue brief, send Bryn or I any questions that you may have, and share this with your state legislators. We have over 30% of our state legislature for next year is going to be made up of new legislators or people who are new into their role, maybe moving from the Assembly to the Senate. That means we have a lot of education to do. And I would hope that some of that education can come from their constituents in their districts. So I encourage you to share this. Thank you, Bryn.
Thank you, Janet. I appreciate it. And that link to the issue brief is in the agenda, which is also posted to our website. I will share that out in the notes as well, so that anybody who wants to be able to print that off, archive it, use it, bookmark it, or just review it so that, as Janet said, you're able to share it, you have ready access to it.
I did throw that in the chat as well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. With that, Lynn, do you have updates that you would like to share from DHS?
Thanks, Bryn. Yes, good morning, everybody. I've got a couple of things for you today. First of all, I wanted to let you know that Trualta has been added to the caregiver needs assessment that we use with the programs. And so down in section 5, there's an education section, education and resources, and Trualta has been added to that. So please make sure that you are using the most recent form when you're doing your caregiver needs assessment. Those can be downloaded out of the DHS library or through REDCap. They're linked within REDCap too. And a sort of a companion issue to that, we have not yet added Tralta to the REDCap entries. We have to take the system down, and we're not sure how long that's going to take to do that. So I guess I'm just saying today, if you've got any needs assessments or initial evaluations, post evaluations that you want to enter, we ask that you do that as soon as possible, so that when we take REDCap down, we're not sure how long it's going to take to have it come back up, but so just get those entered, and then when it's relaunched, then you'll be able to enter those in there as well. Secondly, just a reminder that the AFCSP budgets for next year, the 2023 budgets, are due on November 30th. So if you have not yet submitted yours, please be sure to do that by November 30th. And if by chance you don't have the link and the email I sent out that had the link and the allocations attached, just send me an email and I will resend it to you. But you should have all received that. And thirdly, just reminding everybody that the deadline to submit comments for the National Family Caregiver Strategy that came out is also November 30th. So if you have any comments that you'd like to submit to ACL and to the group that helped put that together, please get those submitted before the end of the month. And lastly, I just want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you've taken your turkey out of the freezer because it takes a while to thaw. So just want to wish you all have a great Thanksgiving.
There's a couple of questions in the chat. It looks like, Lynn, do people have to get entered every year in REDCap? That's a great question.
Right. The DHS REDCap, we are only collecting a one and done sort of data on every caregiver. So if that caregiver is caring for the same person and continuing into another year, yes, you want to do a new assessment. That's expected just to make sure that you know that something hasn't changed, but that person does not need to be put in REDCap a second time. But if they're caring for, say, a different person, someone is caring for their mom last year when you put them in, and now they're caring for their aunt or something like that. And that is considered a different caregiving situation. So you would want to put that second one in. But if it's the same person for the second year, no, you do not have to put in a second one. And just a reminder that those assessments are for both NFCSP and AFCSP. Both programs should be using that caregiver needs assessment and then entering it into the REDCap database.
And how about the evaluations, the initial and the one at the end? Do we do one of those every year as well?
No, it's the same thing as with the needs assessment.
Okay.
All the REDCap data is a one and done sort of thing for every caregiver.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that. I've been taken along to a couple of REDCap trainings and I've been learning, actually a few, and I've been learning with each of them something new. So I appreciate the questions. My only two updates are simply a link to our National Family Caregiver Toolkit. Each day, there has been at least one post, sometimes several posts related to how to support our family caregivers. So far throughout the month of November and into these last few days as well. We just ended the employer engagement week, and now we're focusing on underserved populations and how to best reach them as a professional network. That link to the toolkit is in the agenda. We'll also include that on our notes, and the toolkit link is directly from our GWAR website. So please, I encourage you to take a peek at it. We tried to make it so it was not a heavy lift. I have to give enormous kudos to Rachel and our CAW for their partnership in helping to create this toolkit. You should, in theory, if you're following our family caregiver support page on Facebook, be able to just forward it or repost it rather to your agency or Aging Unit or County Facebook page. If you're able to do that, again, it's just one less thing for you to do throughout the day as far as spreading awareness. It's a simple repost. The last thing that I will, actually, there's two things. I'm sorry. I will make them quick. They're both going to be in the notes. The first is a poll for all caregiver coordinators or people working with the caregiver grant programs. We are trying to identify caregiver coalition makeup. What is the landscape over the years that has transpired in how you work with other neighboring counties or other agencies, or how your caregiver coalitions at a local level have transformed? It's a very short poll. It will take you less than 5 minutes, and we will review those results at our January meeting and hopefully have a really good discussion about how to brainstorm, partner, and how to make sure that our caregivers have resources, but also making sure that you in the Aging Unit and County and ADRC world are best utilizing your time. And then lastly, Janet did allude to it. We do have currently a care survey that is for those family caregivers who've experienced a family discharge from a hospital stay in the past 3 years. And our hope is to collect data not only to show a personal story about things that went well and maybe could be improved upon, but also if folks are interested in getting more information or giving more information, we are going to be following up, hearing some personal stories, and possibly even creating, for those who might be willing, just short vignettes or videos about their experience. Again, just to kind of move the legislative needle and make sure that we have really good resources, not just data, but personal stories to share with legislators and representatives. And with that, we are a little behind schedule, but I think we'll be okay. Kunal, I see you. Are you able to share your screen or present on the newest and latest content with TruAlta? We can't hear you. You're muted.
I'm so sorry. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I was just saying thank you guys for allowing me to hijack your meeting every time. This time, I would love to focus on some of the content that is very relevant for caregivers during the holidays. As we approach Thanksgiving and Christmas, I think this is the perfect opportunity for us to highlight this content. But before I get into that, I have a little bit of a keynote to kick us off with. Number one, I'm really grateful that TruAlta is a part of the care assessment for caregivers. And number two, we've achieved a major milestone with the Wisconsin portal. At this point, we have over 1,000 caregivers on the Wisconsin portal, and that is a huge, huge milestone for this learning portal. So congratulations to every single one of you. And more than congratulations, I have a lot of gratitude for every single one of you. This would not be possible without the dedication and the hard work of all of you care coordinators. And it just feels amazing to know that we've helped over 1,000 caregivers in Wisconsin. So I know that I'm gonna spend tonight with some wine to celebrate this amazing, amazing milestone. Thank you so much for all of your help and everything that you've done over the last 2 years. We've had some very interesting comments on the platform, which I also want to highlight. This was particularly helpful for me. I think I will need to go over it again another few times, but I've seen a number of videos and I'm starting to be on overload. I will stop and watch more. These are good. Many thanks. There's another one which really touched me as well. It's an awesome presentation. It made me realize how far I have yet to go to get to that acceptance stage. Thank you for this. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and discuss caregiving during the holidays. why is it important that we talk about caregiving, especially during the holidays? There's a lot of family dynamics at play. I'm preaching to the choir here, I'm aware, but during the holidays, all of these family relatives come and they have these hot, unwanted takes on how a caregiver should be doing what they're doing. And it's a stressful time for the caregiver. Uh, there might be caregivers who are caring for their loved one from a distance. They might miss the holiday festivities, and that again is carries with it guilt and a lot of missing the loved one. People who are together, they could have an escalating caregiver burden with no time for self-care, and all in all, they miss the person that was. Because of dementia, there's a gradual loss of self-identity, and the person as you know them kind of fades away. So it's especially more evident during the holidays. So with that said, there's a couple of things on the portal that could really help caregivers. The first one is family issues. It is a care story about family dynamics. This has been taken from a caregiver interview that we did, and it has been transcribed on the platform. I feel that when caregivers know that they're not alone, that someone else has gone through the same thing, it's a feeling of knowing that they have someone in this with them. Of course, there's going to be sibling arguments. So there's a lesson on 5 tips for disagreements. As you can see, the learning objectives are to identify the different types of caregiving roles within your own family. Someone would be the scheduling person. Someone typically takes on the personal care roles, and identifying the different roles, describing the situations where conflict may happen, and then improving interactions with siblings. Also, long-distance caregiving has been a theme, especially since COVID-19. For caregivers who are not together with their loved ones on Thanksgiving or Christmas or Hanukkah, this lesson will help them to identify the reasons why they're not together this year and recognize the benefits of intergenerational relationships, and use some tips and techniques to spend to do activities with the family this holiday season. There's a lesson on technology for social isolation as well. This is understandably a little broader than just for holidays, but nevertheless, it's still very apt in this world that we live in. How can we stay connected even if we are apart? Even with my own family, my family's in India. I'm a long distance caregiver for my grandmothers. With technology, I've been closer to them than ever before. So I just feel like this is something that could help all caregivers. Energy conservation is again an important lesson for caregivers. It is so important to pace yourself out. It's very easy to be in the groove, continue doing what you're doing, and ultimately burn out. It's very important to have that cycle of activity and rest. This lesson would explain what energy conservation is and how it can benefit caregivers. Even though it may seem pretty obvious, sometimes you need to read it in order to recognize your own bad habits. Use strategies to prioritize and plan activities to save energy, and then applying pacing strategies to avoid fatigue. And you must not miss out on self-care, even if it entails 5 minutes of your day. You cannot fill from an empty tank. With this lesson, caregivers will be able to identify the 4 types of self-care activities: physical, mental, social, and spiritual, that support balance and reduce stress. Just a heads up, there is a downloadable PDF on your staff space for self-care activities. You can download it. It's like a checklist. Caregivers can use it as to check off things that would be meaningful to them. For me, running would not be physical self-care. Running would be absolute torture. For me, physical self-care would be taking a nice bath. So that list is a good starting point for caregivers to identify what makes sense to them and then follow through with it. And then last but not the least, we have music therapy on the platform. We've got a lot of playlists in general, which are built on an oscillating wave technology. So that has been known to have a calming effect on people with dementia. These playlists are specially created for Christmas, a smooth jazz Christmas and the songs in spirit of Christmas. Again, it adds to the festive mood, and also it will help caregivers get some amount of respite during the holidays. Do we have any questions?
It looks like there is one in the chat about can these be posted to Facebook? I think it was in reference to the articles and maybe some good caregiver self-care ideas. Are those pieces of information that can be shared out on social media?
Absolutely. There's also a few social media posts that are available on the staff space for the Family Caregiver Month and around the holidays. I think those would be very interesting to share on social media and with caregivers. Even absolutely, they can be printed and put out in your initial packets as well. The idea is to get to caregivers and to help them as much as we can. So definitely, printing them and sharing on social media is an excellent idea.
I am not talented enough to monitor the chat and go to the staff space to pull the self-care checklist. Would you be able to do that as we move on to the next presenter and then just throw the link in the chat? I got as far as the marketing updates, and I do see there's some social media, so I can share that out. But if there's the caregiver self-care that you're able to throw in the chat, that would be awesome, Kunal.
Absolutely, I'm honored. If you would allow me 5 seconds, I'll be able to share it right away. I feel like the self-care checklist was created because a client requested to have a tangible item that caregivers can use to check through. And I think that's been very helpful. Sharing my screen.
Don't feel rushed. What I think we might do, just so that Lisa has enough time. Oh, I'm sorry, do you have more of your presentation? I do not want to cut you off.
No, we're
Okay.
done. We're done.
Lisa, hello, good morning. You do have sharing capabilities as well. So if you'd like to send it to me, I can share, or you can share, whatever works best for you.
I will go ahead and share. I am coming to you guys from Arizona, and I'm good thing there's virtual backgrounds because I'm like sitting on the living room floor where I'm at, and I've got my daughter, so I'm actually caregiving right now. So you may see a face peek in every now and then, and maybe a wave, but that's what's going on there. So anyway, I wanted to just say, hey, everybody, nice to see some of you, and some of you are new, but I'm Lisa Schneider, the Executive Director of Respite Care Association of Wisconsin. And what I'm going to do is kind of blast through some of the programs that we have right now, because I really want to hone in on a program that I think you guys are really going to be interested in. For some of you where this information is new, please, when you look at this, I will share this presentation with Bryn along with 2 attachments that she can forward to you guys. that if you have follow-up questions and want to do a little bit more deep dive on any of the other programs that I talk about, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of blast and then focus in on bringing respite to your community, a new program that we have. So for the most part, let me go into presentation mode here. We have 5 main areas of where we do our programming, and it's training, grants, our online registry. We hold virtual events and outreach education opportunities, and then we have a plethora of resources on our website that you guys can check out at any time. With regards to our training programs, these are our core training programs. You may have heard of our respite care provider training. I'm going to be focusing in on our bringing respite to your community. It's that middle upper box there. And then you can see some of the other toolkits that we have, and we have some other online specialized training that people can take advantage of. Again, all of our training is for free. So in addition, for anybody who completes our respite care provider training, they can continue on with some specialized training with some third-party platforms that we work with, one of which is the UW Oshkosh and their cadet program, and then also the College of Direct Supports. So people can continue on to get more specialized training, such as dementia specialist, dementia generalist, and focusing on behaviors, autism, seizures, and stuff like that. So that would all be for free for people who complete our respite care provider training program. With all of our trainings that we do, whether it's presented live or Val does these 2-minute Tip Tuesdays and monthly minis, we have a YouTube channel that has all of these recorded. So you can go on there and just find any of these recordings if you just want to review something that maybe you weren't able to attend, or you want to refer somebody that you're working with to say, hey, check this out. You may be interested in this. So be sure to check out our YouTube channel. These are our main grant programs that we have. Again, you may be most familiar with our Caregiver Respite Grant Program. What I do want to highlight on here is for a temporary period of time, we did have to cut back on the frequency people were able to apply. It was back to 180 days due to the significant demand. However, we're back down to people being able to apply every 90 days. We did secure a very decent 5-year federal grant, so we should have ample funding in this program for at least the next 5 years. So just wanted to let you guys know about that. The other grants that we have is a group respite grant program that is really for things like people that are going to hold an event that they want caregivers to participate in, but they may not be able to attend because they have to provide care for their loved one or bring them. So you can provide on-site respite so that you can hold your program for the caregivers, and then you can provide respite on site, and we'll provide funding for that. Then our supplemental respite grant program is really for anything that is like not direct respite care services. So it's more ancillary, like for housekeeping, snow shoveling, lawn mowing, laundry, whatever that kind of stuff is that's going to help the family caregiver care for their loved one. And then we also have our respite care provider grant, and this is something that ties in with our bringing respite to your community. So if people are looking to increase or expand their respite care programs, we have monies that can help them to expand their services to provide direct care, respite cares, and this is for those, the grants for those direct care provisions. And again, it'll tie in more when I talk about the bringing respite to your community program. Again, just want to remind everybody about our registry. It comes from 2 perspectives. One, for people who want to search our registry to find somebody in their community. It's searchable by county, by age, whether it's children, adults, older adults, and if you want in-home, facility-based. And we're hoping to expand the type of respite options, but again, it is free, searchable registry for people who have completed our online respite care training program, and then people who are openly taking people in to provide respite, such as a facility-based or agencies that provide home and community-based cares. They can also be listed on here as well. And then, so it is a registry of the trained workers. So for people who want to become a respite care worker, we always talk about that you can be your own boss, you can create a flexible schedule. It's a great way to develop connections by using the registry to create a profile that's searchable. We just provide steps for people to create a profile that's more engaging and more informative. So when a caregiver like me, who's looking for a respite care worker, I can better match or see who's going to be a better match for my daughter. So again, anybody has more questions, I'm happy to talk about any of these things. Just some of our outreach efforts. Hopefully, most of you are on our, or all of you are on our newsletter list so that you receive our monthly newsletter that we send out. And then Rachel Watkins Peterson does a webinar Wednesday every fourth Wednesday. I'm sorry, the first Wednesday of each month. And that's usually for about an hour. And it's usually the first 30 minutes is just an overview of RCAW. I'm going to do it like in 10 minutes. She'll do it in 30 minutes. So it'll be a little bit more detailed. But anybody can attend that. That's free. And these are, and then the monthly minis and the 2-minute tip Tuesdays that I said Val does. Again, all of these are recorded and they are listed on our YouTube channel. We also try to create respite related resources that are specific to respite. So we get a lot of stuff for like mesothelioma and stuff like that, but we weed that out to try to make it more respite specific as possible. And we also try to categorize our respite resources by children, adults, and older adults, so people aren't having to sift through a whole bunch of information. And for any of you who want to have some of our marketing rack cards, you can go on our website and pick the rack card that you want and just plug in, I want 50 of these. We'll package them up and deliver them to you for free. And you can hand them out to your clients, your coworkers, your peers, or even at a conference that you're going to have that you maybe want to have some Respite Care Association materials there. So that was really whipped through in about not even 10 minutes. So hopefully that was not too fast for you guys, because I really wanted to focus in on this. So this is a program that we created. It's called Bringing Respite to Your Community. It's a 6-week workshop series, and it's also we accept people to apply to this program on a limited basis. So Val maybe takes up to 10 people to partake in this 6 series of workshops. And we've gone through 4 of them right now. So we've done a spring, fall, in a winter. So I'm sorry, we've done 5 of them so far. And it's really been interesting what's been coming out. So this is an opportunity for people in communities. So let's say you're in a community where you're just really lacking respite care, aren't we all? But you have some people that are interested in exploring, I want to either expand my business to include respite, or I'm looking at starting a new business, whether it's an in-home or an agency-based home and community-based service. This program really walks you through the steps to explore either that expansion or that new business development. So as Val has on here, week 1 really walks you through a needs assessment, program design, and business structure. So a lot of times people come to the table not knowing what it is that they're even needing to know and what it is that they want to do. So this really walks them through options and really helps get some buzz going. And then the group itself even starts to network amongst themselves because they're just bouncing ideas off of each other. Then week 2, there's a program design and licensing, funding, and budgeting intro. So some of these workshops are either online and some of them are virtual face-to-face. So with some of these, like the licensing, and then there's some insurance categories, Val will bring in subject matter experts. So you can directly ask an attorney, you can directly ask a state licensor, or you can ask, I believe she brings on a CPA as well to just inquire about, do you want to do a for-profit? Do you want to do a nonprofit type of business? So there's subject matter experts that are pulled into this workshop series that you guys can directly ask questions of. So week 3 really focuses on policies and procedures, documentation, interviews with respite programs. So again, to just help people get an idea, because they may have thought one thing and then through these workshop series, they learn something else and maybe decide to go a different avenue. So, and as I mentioned earlier, week 4 is when Val brings in the subject matter experts. And the topics vary, but usually include insurance, legal, accounting, and others. And this is face to face, so you can directly ask these subject matter experts your questions for the business that you want to create. Week 5 talks about staffing and volunteers, recruiting, hiring, training, and program growth. So again, it gets more and more detailed as you get going. And then week 6 kind of goes into the branding and marketing, how to present your project. And for the most part, you end up with the makings of a business plan. So you can take that business plan and either shop it around if you're looking for a place to hold it, if it's going to be facility based, or you can explore it if you're going to talk to an insurance agent, really specific to your project. So you really kind of have the makings where you develop a business plan so you can just really hone in on what your program design will be. There's a link here on the PowerPoint that is live, but because the way that it's going to come to you guys, it should be live, but you also could copy and paste it, but it'll look like, oh, I'm blurred, but it's for a reason. But it's got a lot of detail on it. So you'll be able to have that to take a look at for a lot of more nitty gritty details in regards to all the steps about developing a program, what's in it for you, an overview of the workshops, kind of like what we've just gone through. And she does not have the next set of workshop dates on here, as she just completed her last workshop series on November 13th. So I believe the next series will start in the spring of 2023. And she should be posting those fairly soon, I would believe. So what's really nice about going through this program, and because some of our funders have been so excited about this, I'm going to make you wait a little bit more for that. So here are some of the programs that Val has learned from the groups that have gone through the workshop series. So here are some ideas of what respite programs can look like. So it can be a faith-based site that provides respite care for individuals with special needs on site, so family members can provide or attend religious services, or you can open a respite day program in your community that's a safe place for adults to go with disabilities and memory impairment. I would love for that to happen here in the Fox Cities, because where my daughter goes for adult daycare is closing its doors December 23rd. So I'm in a pinch. So I'm hoping that somebody will maybe explore this program and open up an adult day center here in the Fox Cities. People can look at exploring developing their own childcare business and wants to add or expand a childcare business to include respite programming. Or just if something that happens during the summer. Sib Shops does a lot of stuff during the summer that includes respite, but this could be just any kind of program that occurs during the summer. A lot of the times when schools are out and, parents really need a bit more supports. And so you can just see some of the other ideas here of the respite care program can look anything like what they want it to look like. Hopefully it's meeting the needs of what your community is looking for. So when people complete the program, again, we continue to support them with ongoing support, training, development. And the big bonus is that we have access to some funding now. This won't come in the PowerPoint that I'm sending to you because I just did a quick cut and paste from some of the funding that we got. But we just got a Bader Philanthropies grant. Originally, we were awarding people who wanted to move forward with their business plan to really create and open their doors. A lot of times there's some barriers that prevent people from even moving forward, because a lot of the times when you provide the services and then you get reimbursed probably 60 to 90 days later. Sometimes just obtaining insurance is a barrier. So people, you need that source of income in the beginning to at least even get your doors open. So we're hoping to provide those startup funds. And it was interesting when we went to the Bader Philanthropies Foundation, we originally were going to give $4,000 to $5,000 away to more businesses. And they said, oh, no, that's not enough. We want you to give away $10,000. So they funded us for 2 years, where we can at least provide $10,000 to 2 businesses each year through our Bader Philanthropies grant. So that's a reasonable amount of money. That's grant money that does not need to be paid back. And that is really for those who are really to just hit the ground and get going with this. Again, we've also built in some monies for people to continue just their training on hiring practices and a whole slew of other things that can support people in developing their program. And then the one that is not highlighted, that's not colored in the background, is from our 5-year federal grant. And that one we're going to be looking at awarding 2 to 3 businesses between $15,000 and $25,000 for up to 50, for a total of $50,000. So depending on what the projects are, we might fund 2 at 25 or 3 at 15. But again, these are startup grants. These in particular on the federal grant side will be forgivable loans. And so the longer that the doors stay open, the less that would need to be paid back. What we don't want to have happen is somebody create a business, get the money, and then close their doors. So this is a little of incentive to really engage people who are more seriously interested in moving forward with either expanding or creating new respite care services in their community. So did I do this in 15 minutes? Almost. So here is our contact information if you guys have any questions. Val is really the insider on the bringing respite to your community. So here is her contact information. If you wanted to find out more about the Caregiver Respite Grant Program, I would call Rachel, but you can always contact me for anything that you guys may have questions on, and we'll get you to the right place. So that is it, Bryn. Hopefully that wasn't too fast.
I'm impressed that you covered so much in the time that you did. Thank you. In the meantime, please feel free, any feedback or questions, unmute yourself or type in the chat. Just my quick follow-up or thoughts and feedbacks. First, I can imagine that as an ADRC or a county aging unit, when I may want to hold or offer a caregiver support group or other type of event, and one of the barriers is that there isn't respite care for my loved one. Therefore, I can't get all the caregivers who probably more need to be there than some others to the event. So the idea of being able to apply for that group scholarship is helpful. And then the other piece too is that I actually just at the National Lifespan Conference happened to run into a mom who made the choice to leave the workplace, and actually because her own kiddo care needs, and then just being in this group, in this network, understanding there was a need for respite care and other type of support services, handed her this Bring Respite to Your Community, and she seemed very intrigued. So I think that throughout our caregiver coordinator responsibilities and the parents that we work with, the caregivers that we work with, the other agencies, there is hopefully some opportunity there to make some good matches. Are there any other one other thing, if you wouldn't mind expanding a little bit on how our caregiver grants would work with applying for, or caregiver applying for the respite care. So it's my understanding, in short, is that we want to first exhaust these resources before sending a caregiver to your direction. And I just want to make sure that we all understand that.
Absolutely. So let me just quickly pop this up here because we have created a document, and this will be a document that I include in the email that I send to Bryn that can be shared to all of you guys. But it is basically taking your document that had the, I think Jane Mahoney started this and we worked together, but your AFCSP and your NFCSP funds. And we took that and mashed in on the last column, our CRGP program, our Caregiver Respite Grant Program. So it really compares the funding sources across this way, the maximum annual allocation per applicant across this way, the eligibility requirements. For the most part, our eligibility requirements are that either you're not eligible to apply for the other ones, or what's been happening more recently, especially this time of year, let's say in Milwaukee County, they're running out of their NFCSP dollars, and so they have no monies to give away. So we kind of see an influx this time of year because funds aren't available for them until January based on their program design. But so we will still, even people are eligible, it's maybe the lack of funding or there's a wait for the funding, whatever it is, then that opens the door for them to have access to our program. So this just kind of goes on about how to, again, the same document that you guys are probably used to, we just plugged in our information to just give you a reference. And for the most part, the eligibility criteria for our Caregiver Respite Grant Program is for people who have tried to apply for any long-term care waiver program and were denied, whether it's for financial reasons or not disabled enough. We don't look at any of that. We just need to know that they've tried and were denied, and then that's when we can help them. And just a reminder that there is no minimum and no maximum that people can apply for in both dollars and hours. So as long as we are achieving respite for the family caregiver, that is really our ultimate goal.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Can I also add something to that?
Sure.
Actually, to before about the bring respite to your community. It's something we've been talking about with the alliance with working caregivers, and I just kind of want to put this out there for y'all to think about how your community may be able to support these grants as well. When I think about, it's great that our CAW is going to be able to provide these grants to a couple programs to start these up, but we know statewide during COVID, we lost a lot of providers. I mean, with places, the adult day centers closed, are still closing, as Lisa was talking about, and just having respite providers there. And this idea of getting communities as a whole to think about what having respite providers means to the community, that it's an economic development sort of tool for them. They're going to, in order to have families stay in their communities, be able to grow old in their communities, to work in their communities, you need respite providers. And so wouldn't it be awesome, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be awesome if you could get local communities, counties, whatever, to add money like our CAW is doing, to have like grant startup funds to help get these open and operating. So just something to think about in a kind of wider thing about how maybe these workshops can be promoted to local communities as well, to get them to understand the value of having respite providers, what that means to their community, and attracting people, keeping them, and just making their communities a great place to live. So thanks.
Yes. And I'll just throw out there too, with our federal funding, we're working closely now with UW-Madison Center for Co-ops, and we're exploring some potential, we're not going to create them, but we're exploring the need and the interest of a co-op for home and community-based service providers. So it's literally the employees that would become the owners of the company and band together. My dream would be for that to happen. We've got startup monies for that as well. But it's a great opportunity to explore health insurance for people who want to band together by creating a co-op. So this is something we'll be working on over the next 5 years. But if any of you are interested in serving on a committee for that with the exploration, let me know. Give me an email and we'll add you to the list.
Once again, thank you. I don't see any hands raised. I don't see anything in the chat. Oh, wait, I gotta scroll down a little bit. Nope. Okay, nothing in the chat. I think with that, maybe I will just share a quick update about what to expect for our next meeting. That is going to be Tuesday, January 24th at 10 o'clock. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll have a discussion about caregiver coalitions. The good discussion that we're going to have is going to be based on the results of the poll. So I will be sending that out both in the GWAR weekly newsletter, in the agenda notes that follow. I will also link those notes to our GUAR newsletter. So in multiple different ways, I'm hoping that you're able to access that. Again, it takes under 5 minutes. And that way we can really have a good, robust conversation, hopefully both with the outcome of being support for our family caregivers and meeting their needs and matching their needs, but also being able to recognize that throughout the EDRC and the aging units, in many cases, you're at capacity. So how are we going to best band together and partner together to make sure that these are sustainable caregiver support groups for your communities? A quick reminder, just that all upcoming agendas and the notes, as well as these webinars, are archived on our website. And if you have any ideas or requests about upcoming discussion topics or material that you would like myself or Lynn or others to bring to these meetings, please always feel free to email or call me, or to email or call in, and I put our emails in the agenda, and they'll be in the notes as well. So barring any questions or other feedback, I'll pop back in and look at the chat. I do not see any. I will wish you all then a wonderful upcoming holiday, Thanksgiving, and happy short week, if nothing else, right? Take care all, and thank you so much for all the good work that you do. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.